Welcome to Mitchell Elf. Our theme this year is Adaptations, and this unit is Thorns and Threats, and this is Center 2, Natural Defenses, Thinking Map and Adventure Game. These are both good activities for outside, and this is the only center that's really geared toward being outside for this unit, so I highly recommend you take the students outside unless it's just a horribly not fun weather kind of a day. The goal of this center is for students to compare and contrast the ways that plants and animals defend themselves and to reinforce the awareness of common defense mechanisms used by both plants and animals. And in order to do that, you're going to need to get the kids thinking about what kind of adaptations plants and animals have made in order to defend themselves. And that the ability to do that has been probably integral to those plants and animals' survival. So you can use any of these laminated sheets that you think are appropriate to the discussion you want to lead. I would at least recommend brainstorming with the kids and showing them pictures, maybe letting them each explore one of these. If the older kids could kind of read about it and then turn and share, do a circle kind of share about what they learned. Or whatever works for your group of kids to let them investigate and for you to kind of make sure they have on the top of their heads the names of different adaptations such as spikes or shells or trapping or smelling, any of those things, because they'll need that when they try to apply their knowledge in the next part of the activity for this center, which is the double bubble map. The double bubble map, I'm sure many of you are familiar with because it's a tool that gets used in their classrooms regularly, is we have made a guide for you in case you're not familiar with it, and you can use this and you can make lines on the ground, the lines it says make with yarn or with sidewalk chalk, but you're going to connect the different defenses to either their animal defenses or their plant defenses or their shared defenses. So you're wondering, how are you going to set this up? Well, what you're going to do is we have all these bubbles that you can tape to the ground, or if you're indoors, set on the ground, and you'll start out by just putting out animal defenses and plant defense, those two bubbles, and then you're going to ask the kids to name a defense and an animal that goes with that defense that uses it. For instance, a skunk uses odor, and then you'll look for that defense in all these bubbles, and I think actually there are plants that use that too. And so you would find it under the purple ones because both of them use it. They smell bad, and you would put that smack in the middle because they share that defense. Both plants and animals use it. So let's say another student says looking big or making myself look large. Well, that's a defense that fish use when they school together, or that animals use when they puff up their wings or their feathers. So you would pull that and hand that to the student, and the student then would put that only on the animal side because it's only an animal defense. Let's say another student said camouflage, and specifically for the skin. So that's another animal defense, and you'd get that one out, hand that to the student, put it there. Let's say a student said trap, which is what some plants do as a defense. You would hand them that, and they would need to put it on the side where it's only a plant defense. And so after a while, you start to have a map on the ground, and I'm kind of rushing it along, and on the ground, not on my carpet, but on the ground outside, you can use the sidewalk chalk to draw lines to connect them. If you're doing it inside, you can use the string and just cut pieces of string to connect. So you're showing the relationship between animal defenses and plant defenses and how you can compare which ones share those and contrast which plants and animals do not. All right, so that may take up a lot of time, and you may not have time for this next part, but hopefully you do. because the next part is really pretty great. It's an adventure game. And what you're going to do is choose one person to be the adventurer, and then the rest of the group is going to pick an animal or a plant card. And they're going to put those on around their neck, and then they're going to pretend that they're sitting along an imaginary path. And the adventurer is going to walk down this path carrying the defense bank, which is all of these kinds of defenses located in our oven mitt. That's camouflaged. And they're going to try to get points by walking down and naming what defense each of these plants or animals uses. So for instance, as we walk down the path, maybe we start on this end and we come across the monarch butterfly. Well, its defense is that it tastes bad. So they would hand that to the person and they would get a point because that's correct. And then the next one is nettles, and those make you itch if you run into them. So they would get another point, and so on and so forth. Mosquitoes sting. The possum plays dead. And so you'd go on down, and hopefully they would get all the points, and then it would be somebody else's turn to be an adventurer if you have more time. And you can mix up, there are plenty of cards in here that you can mix it up with, and in fact, if you don't get to use this game for Center 2, you could opt to use it as part of your conclusion, but it'd probably be kind of messy, and it wouldn't. It might be more chaotic, but that's up to you. If there's a way you want to use it in a different part, that's up to you as well. Do as many rounds of that as you can to just again to reinforce the awareness of animal and plant defenses. If you have any questions, you can email us at mitchellelf@gmail.com, and please do your best to make sure all the parts get back into the right envelopes, and give me a holler if something's missing or not working, again at the email address. And I hope you have lots of fun, and I hope it's a great weather day.